Welcome back, everybody, to the Me and Jesse podcast. My name is Mark Pavlich, away in the Grove, the big, sexy Jesse Martineau. And ladies and gentlemen, our special guest today. Listen, I'm a huge fan of hers. She is the IBO WBA super featherweight champion of the world, Czarina McCoy, everybody.
Hi.
Thanks so much for
Hello.
joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. We Mark said, "Hey, we got the champ on here." So talk. We're
Well,
talking.
don't you notice, Jesse, that female boxers, we've had very many male boxers on our show, huge male boxers on our show, female boxers, and everybody likes the female boxers better. And I'm like, listen, I'm not picking the guests anymore. The fans are picking the guests. I don't care anymore. But it seems like we've had Jolina Marjinovic on the show, 8-time world champ. People went nuts when she was on. And then we get like a pro male boxer, like high-end guys, like champs, everything. They're just kind of like, oh, yeah. You know, like they're just not there, man. And then the girls seem to have something. And listen, when watching your Instagram, it is literally the place where all females and males need to learn. And when you're struggling with some stuff, you need to go to the Black Roses Instagram page and really understand what she is about. Not just boxing, everybody. There's more to it today. And that's what we're going to find out.
Yes. I just started like mini vlogs called Black Rose Motivation, where I just come and I give you a little bit of motivation. Sometimes I don't have it, and there will be times I'll be like, what are you grateful for? Because sometimes I need to pull from others, not everybody's perfect. I think I bring that sort of authenticity to the fact that not everybody has good days, and even the people who motivate you need to pull from you at times to continue to do that. So yeah, but I just started that, and it's been getting really good feedback lately. People seem to really like it. I really like doing it. So yeah.
What spurred that? Why did you start that?
Well, I am in school for journalism.
Okay.
So I want to get into sports journalism, but I've been writing since I was a kid. So in the future, I plan to publish poetry books. I plan
Cool.
to publish novels. I want to get into key speaking, motivational speaking. It's something I've always wanted to do. I just think like this is a first step, especially with everything transitioning to social media these days, with how technology is moving. I think it's a good way to start, padding the profile so that when I do get to that stage where I'm like motivationally speaking to large groups of people, they're not like, who is this girl thinking she could tell me how to live my life?
Yeah,
She's never told anybody how to live their life before.
So okay. So again, like that I love this. I love what your approach. But is this something you've struggled in the past that you've learning to overcome, or is this something that you're just really passionate about?
No, so I've never really struggled. I've been doing like types of entertainment my entire life. So I started dancing and acting at the age of 4.
Wow.
I went to high school for it. I went to Las Vegas Academy of the Arts for theater. I also took dance while I was there. So I've always been, sort of a type of entertainment figure in one way or another throughout my life. I just like to motivate people. I think I've been through a lot, and it took me a really long time to be verbal about the things that I have gone through. But once I finally got that courage to come out and be like, okay, this is what I've been through, and this doesn't make me any less of a person because I've been through it. It just makes me more relatable to you or to her or to him or to whoever, once I realized that my experiences I wouldn't say are not as unique as others, but that a lot more people can relate than I initially thought when I was going through it. It's something that I think is important that people should feel supported. That's like my biggest thing is that you might not always feel supported by the people around you. Sometimes it takes a stranger coming in with a video you see down your feed or even randomly. Sometimes I randomly vent to strangers because you never know what type of advice or what type of other perspective you can get from somebody else. So
But how does that work, Serena? When you say you've gone through some things, give us an example. Because no, like you think we're a sports podcast and you think, oh, just dudes watch this show, right? But that's not true at all. we have a lot of females that watch this show as well too, and I don't think it's a female issue or a male issue. I think it's an issue
Mhm.
across the board. What are some of the things that you have gone through in your life that you feel have kind of brought you to this point now? And when you said something really interesting. You said like you almost felt like, like you had to get over these things, right? But then,
Mhm.
but then you say to yourself, you haven't really gone through these things when we were talking about maybe anxiety or depression or whatever the case may be. But what are some of those things that you did go through in your life?
Well, growing up, I didn't grow up with a mom. My mom passed away when I was 6
Hmm.
from cancer. I was with my mom every step of, her cancer journey. And I was there when she took her last breath. I saw it. I was 6,
Wow.
and like it wasn't easy for my dad to raise me all by himself, a single father. And I'm a girl. That makes it 1,000 times
It
harder.
does. Yeah.
You have this man who's
Hmm.
young and he's, gone through lots of things in his life and he's hardened by the struggles that he's had to go through. And
Hmm.
now he's in this position where, okay, his wife just passed away and he has this little 6-year-old girl that he now has to raise on his own. And that wasn't easy for either of us. That was something that we had to grow up together. We had to learn together. We had to experience together. It wasn't always pretty. It
Hmm.
wasn't always easy for both of us, and then
Mhm.
growing up thinking like, dang, seeing everybody with their moms, it was like hard for me. Even things that I never even talked to about with my dad until I got older. Like, it sucks seeing other girls with their moms. I
Yeah,
don't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
that's right.
Like, I don't have that built-in best friend. Like, I don't get to
Right.
do those things. I don't get to
Mm.
have those experiences. I did everything with my dad, and I love doing everything with my dad. Those are some of the best memories I have. But it's different when you're a
That's
girl and
right.
you're seeing other girls with their moms and you don't know what that feels like, And then it's just like growing up, like I've been through things, everybody grows, everybody goes through personal things in and out the ring. I've struggled with getting discouraged by politics in the sport.
Mm.
There was a time I temporarily quit because
Mm.
I thought I didn't want to do it anymore just because I was fed up with the politics,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I had to take a step back and realize that this is something that I really love to do. And, I'd rather deal with politics than to not have it in my life.
Mm.
Yes.
As a woman, you go through things. I was a victim of domestic violence relationship for 5 years, and that really changed the way that I saw things and the way that I lived life. And I struggle with depression. I've struggled with anxiety. Like I don't have perfect days. I'm very open about it on my social medias, especially on my personal page. That's where I'm more personable with my fans and people that know me. So I'm very open on my blog. If you guys read like some of my blog entries, I have touched lightly upon things that I've gone through or struggled through. So I've not had it like the best. I've always been provided for, but I've had bad experiences,
Of
Yeah,
and
course.
yeah,
those
yeah.
experiences, not by any fault of the way I was raised or the people around
Mhm.
me, but by things that I chose to step into. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Haven't we seen that now in the world, like all over the
Yeah.
world? We've seen guy. It doesn't matter if it's not a money thing anymore. It's not a
Hmm.
how much money you do have or don't have. We see people of all ethnicity. We see everybody of all economic climates. They're that's the real pandemic in the world today.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, it's just I see it everywhere. Like we were just recently in a high school doing a speaking event, and there was kids coming up, and I was like, these are kids, man, and they were just like,
Mhm.
they're messed up, and it's like,
Yeah.
and when we talk to the counselors, and they're like, yeah, Mark, it's just a lineup of kids, like one after another,
Mhm.
because first of all, they're all dealing with loss of parent or divorce of parent, or so these are all these things that you see, and it's like someone of your level, like and like what you've gone through, and then you're sitting here talking about it. I think we can't get enough of that, man. I really believe that. I
Yeah.
really, it's really hard to really put yourself out there to go, yeah, this is what happened to me. And most people just can't do that, man. Most men can't do that.
Mhm.
Most females struggle with doing it because you're like, I don't want the world to know, because they think it's weak, right? And
Yeah.
we've all figured out it's not weak, right? It's not, look at you, you're world champ. You're not weak, but
Mhm.
you've been through some shit, and that's just the way it is. And we have to, we don't talk about it that much on this show, but when it does come up, it's weird how it comes up with guys from the NHL, guys from the
Mhm.
NFL that have been on the show. The second it's brought up, that's the topic of conversation that ends up talking about, because they don't have a place to actually speak about it or talk
Yes.
about it.
What do you think
And
about?
that's why, like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
As an athlete, that's why I feel like I'm so open about it, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
usually the only woman in my gym.
Mm.
So I've
Yeah.
grown up all the years. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing this for 12, almost 13 years. And all the entirety of the time that I've done this, I've had multiple opportunities to have conversation with lots of men in this sport. And the biggest thing is that they cannot talk about how they struggle because it's
No.
seen as weak.
Right.
And boxing is not what it looks like on the internet. It's
Yeah.
not what it looks like
Correct.
on the movies and on
That's
TV.
right.
And these men, they don't want to discuss this because they don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want it to affect
Mhm.
their careers. They don't want it to, and because of how they've been raised, it's weak to show emotion. It's weak to have everybody has a hard time. Everybody has a hard time, and
100%.
I don't like, if I can do it, you can do it. If I can talk about it and it doesn't make me look any like different, so can you. Like, I just feel like I want to encourage people to be more open, because it's a lot of pressure to continuously get on the internet every day and pretend to be a certain kind of way
Yeah.
to an entire world full of people.
Yeah.
That's
That's
right.
exhausting.
It
That
is.
is
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
I used to do it. It exhausted me to the point where, like, if anybody who's watching this who followed me a few years back, I deleted everything off of my page, both of my pages. I didn't post anything, just on my story. That's it. I never posted. Everything was completely blanked out because
Yeah.
I was so overwhelmed trying to pretend like everything was all good all the time just to please the world. That's not our job. Our job isn't to please others. Our
Correct.
jobs are to please ourselves. Like, it's too exhausting to sit
It
here and
is.
pretend like we're just happy all the time. Like, let's just be realistic with ourselves and with other people, because you might think it's weak, but when you do it, you'll be surprised at how many people support you.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
What do you think about, like, because I mean, you bring up a really good point, because we've seen it so many times when people are open about something, it gets used against them. It gets used against them, especially on the field or something like that. You don't know what's being said, so but things are being said.
Yeah.
Because there's some high stakes. So how do we
Yeah.
get, like, I do also think that the next generation of people alive, like, we're embracing it much more than we used to. However, how do we actually start to break that stigma a little bit more, especially in the sports world, because everything's still pretty polished and no one really still talks about it.
That's really hard. That's a really difficult thing to juggle, because you're fighting against politics. At the end of the day, like, your politics and somebody else's politics, it doesn't matter what the politics are on. It could be about the election, it could be about boxing, it could be about whatever. If
True.
you differ in politics, there will always be a clash.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter
yeah,
what
yeah.
type of
Correct.
politics it
Yeah.
is. So it is a difficult thing to combat as a whole. I can't really give a direct answer to what we can all do. But what I personally do is I like to lay all my crap out on the table, and that way you can't throw anything against
Yep.
me. What can you say to me that I haven't said already?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
think it makes me cry that you researched me and watched an interview I gave and then reiterated to me what I said? Like, that doesn't make me, I said it. Everybody knows it. I'm loud. You will never be able to use that against me. I have all my skeletons out of the closet.
Yeah, I
They're
love that
hanging up.
approach. I love that approach.
Like, you
I do.
can't, they're hanging on the walls. You can't do anything to me.
Yeah,
It doesn't hurt. Like, oh, you're depressed, go cry about it. I will. I
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
post on the internet while I'm crying. I'll be like, hey, y'all, having a bad day. What could you do to me? You can't do anything to me. I think
like
it's just,
that.
people feel like they have so much power, and it does, like, go hand in hand with technology, because ever since social media has become prominent, people believe that they can say certain things that they probably shouldn't say, or that
True.
they probably wouldn't say otherwise. And I think that's why it's like, I don't fake it for the internet. Like, I'm going to be 1,000% authentic with y'all, because at the end of the day, I don't want nobody trying to throw nothing in my face. Congratulations, you know how to read my own post. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah. That's good.
That's the most you're gonna get from me. So
Okay.
that's what I do. I personally think if more people put their crap out on the table, it would take a lot of power away, because nothing you say can embarrass me. Go
Yeah.
ahead. loud and proud. I did it,
Yeah, I
and
love
I'll
it.
do it again. I was like, what?
I love that.
That doesn't do nothing for me.
You talk a lot
So
about
when
the
you,
politics in
yeah,
the sport, so you know, and again, like beyond that, but in the sport itself, like we see that as fans, like we see that as people that watch.
Hmm.
And you don't even have to be that close to it to really see
true.
politics unfold. So, you know, in the time that you quit, how did you get to a place where you were going to come back? Like, what did you have to actually break through to say, you know what, despite all this, I'm still going to go forward with it?
So it was actually at the end of my amateur career. I have a very extensive amateur career. I was on Team USA. I was a tournament kid. I only did tournaments. My last tournament was, I want to say it was nationals in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 2018. That was my last tournament. I won the tournament with a TKO. It was great. I just was so stressed out trying to beat politics of the amateurs that I was just like, I don't think I could do this anymore. Like
Mm,
having to, you know, be or like, no, you're going into a fight that's like, if I don't knock her out, I'm gonna lose because this is who they're batting for. Like, this is a favorite.
yes, yeah.
And it was like going in and being like, okay, I'm gonna try the hardest. But knowing, like, okay, I didn't knock this girl out, I didn't drop her, nothing, like, they're gonna take this fight from me. Like, having to deal with that on the scale that I was on in the amateurs, it was very overwhelming for me. I was also a child, like I was young, I was a
Yeah,
teenager.
you're a kid.
Yeah, I was a kid. Like that's a lot of stress for
Yeah,
somebody to be on.
sure is.
I had felt at the time that I had sacrificed a lot because I did like I left my performing arts high school for boxing because it was too demanding to do both,
Wow.
and it was really getting stressful on me going to school and then getting out of school and going to dance practice and then going to theater practice and then leaving and going to the gym and then doing that, and I'm tired at the gym and my coaches are mad at me, and like it was just a lot for me. It was affecting my grades. um and so I ended up switching to online. I didn't go to homecoming. I didn't go to prom. I didn't go to Sadie's. I didn't go to anything. I never really hung out with friends after school. I didn't do anything. It was like school, gym, tournaments, Olympic Training Center in Colorado. That was it. Like it was nothing else, and I felt like I had sacrificed a lot at the time because when you're a teenager, that's all you're worried about. Like that's your whole life. You
Mhm.
know, as an adult, I'm like I don't care about any of that. But like as a teenager, I'm like, okay,
You
I've
did.
given up
Yeah,
all this stuff
you
and
did.
like,
Yeah.
you know, and this is just stressing me out now. And I give up all this just to go and still lose to somebody that I didn't actually lose to just because you like her more than me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was just it felt unfair. And I just was like after that tournament, I was like, look, I won with a TKO. I'm done. Like I'm not
Mm,
doing this anymore. Um and I had quit. That was around the time that I was in my very long abusive relationship. Um, and I ended up, um, well, I was going to leave the relationship at the time. I had quit boxing. I was going to leave the relationship. Something about God always having a joke that when you want to leave a man, you get pregnant.
oh.
So here I was. I found myself pregnant at 17,
Mm,
scared out of my mind. I
yeah.
moved out of my dad's house while he was at work. That was the worst thing I've ever done. Like, I don't have regrets, but if I did have a regret, it would be that one thing, like just leaving like that, because I'm so close to my dad and that hurt him a lot. Like,
Mm,
and I've never touched on this. I've just become open about this because a lot of women go through this, you know, a lot more than you think. But
mm,
yeah, so I don't have boxing. I'm stuck with this kid with a man that I don't want to be with because he's very abusive. I moved out of my house because I'm terrified to tell my dad I'm pregnant, and I have to move in with this man I don't want to be with,
Wow. Wow.
you know, and his whole family, and he's horrible to me. He treats me horribly. Like, you know, I was completely, I wasn't allowed to have friends. I was completely isolated. My dad and him didn't get along, so they put a bridge between me and my dad. I
jeez.
was like basic narcissistic
Yeah, I was gonna say,
relationship where I'm basically being held hostage
yeah,
in a
Wow.
situation because I feel like I don't have a choice.
yeah,
And then it just everything happened. I ended up miscarrying
yeah.
the baby. Um and after that, that was like probably one of the most traumatic things I've ever been through. And
How
it was the
far
first
along were you?
like
How far along were you when you
I
miscarried?
was 4 months. when I
Mm.
miscarried. So it was very painful experience,
Of
Yeah.
course.
like
Yeah.
horrible.
Hmm.
And I was really depressed after that. I was not taking care of myself. I ended up not going to any of my classes anymore. My GPA suffered a lot because of it, because I was too depressed to get out of bed. I
Mm.
wouldn't eat, I wouldn't go to class, I wouldn't leave the room. I was very depressed. I felt like I had nothing. And after that, I was like, I really don't know what to do other than to go back to the gym.
Wow.
Like, where else can I go?
Hmm.
Like,
That makes you
where
feel a
else
certain way, right? It makes
where
you
else
feel it.
do I feel safe enough to go right
Yeah.
now
Mm.
Yeah.
than to the gym? So I did. I went back to the gym. I went back to the gym and I never left. I was like, this is the only thing keeping me going, is that I know I have to look forward to going to the gym tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Like, I have nothing else to wake up for except that I have to be at the gym tomorrow. Like, that's how I felt for a really long time until I got everything back on track
Was your
after
dad
that.
in the gym with you when you went back to the
He
gym?
was. My dad has always been in the gym with me. My dad has always like gone, even when we were like, we didn't have a good relationship. I wasn't living with him. I was just directly like just being a horrible daughter. Like, and he was still pick me up every day. We would go to
Wow.
the gym. Yeah, he would still pick me up every day. We would go to the gym. He'd
So he's
drop me
picking you
off.
up at this house of this lunatic.
So he's picking no. So he's
Okay.
picking me
Because
up
I'm on the
10
I'm a,
minutes
this is like
down the
this
street.
is like a cliffhanger for me, man. I'm
Because
like this is like a
I'm sitting
movie.
here and I'm like lying about where I live because, you
Oh,
know, I'm
Oh.
very, very smart.
okay.
My dad is smarter. Okay.
Okay.
I'm very intelligent. But my dad is also a little bit more intelligent than me because he has life experience. And so I'm thinking I'm slick. I'm walking 10 minutes down the street to completely different houses
So he
that I
doesn't
just
know. He doesn't
he
know
did
you're.
that. I'm thinking he doesn't know that. I just happen to know
Wow.
the gate code too. So if he'll drop me off and he'll linger, I'll put the gate code in. I'll walk in. I'll wait till he leaves. I walk out. I walk home. The whole time he knew I didn't live there, but he was like, if that's gonna make her feel better and come to the gym, I'm gonna
Wow.
pretend.
Wow.
Wow.
Like, so the
Wow.
entire
Wow.
time I
Wow.
was doing that, he knew, and I didn't know he knew, and I didn't find out until later that, like, yeah, the whole time I knew you were lying. I was just whatever to get you in the gym, like whatever to
Good.
get to get that going, like back, you know. And my dad also didn't know about the pregnancy for a very long time, really until last year.
Wow.
Last
Wow.
year,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and this happened when I was 17.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
How did he
like
take that?
um, well, he never actually said anything about it. Like, it was kind of a situation where I told somebody about it, and that person ended up telling my dad
Oh.
as a
Ooh.
way of like, I get you what we were talking about, like throwing it in your face.
Hmm.
And I was just
Hmm.
kind of like, you know what? This doesn't embarrass me. Yeah, it happened. Like, yeah, that happened and that happened and that happened. Everything that she said happened. I don't feel embarrassed about it. I just didn't. I mean, I just don't want to have a
Okay,
conversation about
but
it.
we're
You know?
missing we're missing a step here because you're getting dropped off with your dad. You're going to the gym with your dad. So
Yeah.
in between that and that, when did you decide to say to the dude, "Hey, I'm out"?
So it took me a really long time to say I'm out, but it took me a very short amount of time to say, hey, I'm moving out. You know, like
Oh, okay.
I probably lived with him for 6 or 7 months and then I moved out. I was like, I'm going to move back in with my dad. And I never told my dad why. I never told him, like, yeah, it's because this guy used to try to beat me up when he would get drunk. Like, I never told my dad that.
Hmm.
It was just like, oh, there was
But he
too many
knows it
people
now.
living in
He
the
knows it
house.
now.
He definitely knows it now, only because of the things that I've posted on social media
Yeah.
that he knows. But we've never like sat down and really had a conversation about it. I fear because if it does become a conversation, he will get very angry. And I'd
Mm.
rather him be like, okay, I acknowledge that that's happened and I'm trying to move forward than to like, okay, let's have a conversation about it. And now you're
Let's
going to go do
run him
what
over with
dads
his
do
car.
best.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
do what dads do best and
Yeah,
you're going to
correct.
freak out. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't talk about it, but he knows about it, you
Mm.
know,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
Okay. I
I think if
spoke. You know,
anything,
I spoke with your father before on the phone, and he was
yeah.
very few people I remember. I know so many people in the boxing world, but Edwin I remember, and
Mm,
he was very what's the word I can use, like very professional and very like not hard. So when he was
Mhm.
speaking, he was speaking in a very nice way, which I was absolutely shocked because in the boxing world, usually I get the guy's resume. He tells me his entire resume for 5 minutes. Then he tells me how great he is. Then he tells me how great his boxer is. And then your dad wasn't like that at all. Like
Yeah, my
he
dad is
no,
not like that. He's
no,
not, he doesn't want attention. He does not
no.
want attention. Like,
Yeah.
if you go and you go down and you look at all my fights and pictures, you will rarely see my dad in any
Yeah.
pictures.
Wow.
I have to force him to get into pictures. Like,
I
if
like that
somebody
though.
just
Yeah.
accidentally happens to get him on camera and they post it, he's like, oh, they posted me. The world's ending. I'm not the star of the show. And I'm like, Dad, you have to be posted sometimes.
Yeah, I
Like, you
agree.
have to be.
I
For
agree.
Like,
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, he's very like, this is not about me. This is about you. Like, my
Yeah.
dad has always prioritized my career over his reputation. He doesn't care for
You can tell.
reputation.
You can tell. And
Yeah.
when I spoke to him on the phone, and like I said, he was like, I remember people, right? And it was like he's somebody I really remembered because he didn't talk like a boxing person on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
which
know.
is a good thing.
He'll never do that. He'll never do that. He will always be like, okay, this is what it is. This is what I'm calling for. It's all about her. Like, let's keep the focus. Let's keep the
Yeah.
focus on her career. Like, that's how he's always been. I'm so grateful because
You know what I noticed too? My wife always has this saying, and when I see you in some of your posts, it's my wife literally since the day I met her, I've been with her 38 years. She says, "Dance like nobody's watching," right? And you
Mhm.
literally, I've seen you in multiple videos where you're in like the most bizarre places, just dancing, and and you could tell you don't give a shit who's around. You could tell you don't like you're just in your own little like I listen, I wish I could be more like that in life. I do. I listen, I pray to God every day. Like let me be free of myself like that because I saw a video of you and I'm going to post it later on our stuff. But I think you're in a subway or something.
Oh yeah, I was in New York. I was
So
in the
you're in New York
subway.
City. You're in New York City, and you're in the subway, and you're dancing, and I'm like, shit. I'm like, I'm older now, man. I want to be more like that. Like, I want to be able to not have that. Oh, like someone's watching me all the time. You know what I mean? Like, there's such a weird thing in my head.
That's
But
actually
literally,
interesting.
literally, when I saw you doing that, I was like, I love that, man. Like, because I could actually see. Like my wife's the same way. She doesn't give a shit. Like we'll be in the middle of a restaurant. She'll be like, Mark, let's dance right now. And I go, there's no dance floor. She's like, I don't care. And then
Yeah.
it finally, after I turned 50, I finally said, okay. And I stood up. But the other years, I couldn't even do it. Like I would die of anxiety going, I'm not going to stand up in the middle of a restaurant. Like everybody's going to watch me. Right. And what I'm saying is, you are the definition of that. When I heard my wife say that term all the time, now I understand it because when I saw you doing the video and you were in New York City, I was like, that's exactly what she's
Yeah.
talking about right there.
Yeah, I feel like I try to live my life as shamelessly as possible. Like, I think
I like
that's
that. I like that.
people will tell me that that is my best blessing and my worst curse is that I am very shameless, which means that every decision I think is the decision I should have made because I
Mhm.
made it. And like,
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about it. And sometimes people feel like maybe I should feel bad about certain decisions that I make. But I feel like any decision that I made was the decision I was supposed to make to put me in the position I'm in right now. So whether it was a good decision or a bad decision, it was either a really great decision or it was a lesson I had to learn. And either way, can you stop? Either way, I feel like it was something that I should have done. I don't feel shame about it. So, it's like if a song comes on in public and I want to dance to it, I'm gonna dance to it
So,
because
what is the music you do listen to? What's like your favorite stuff to listen to?
oh my God. I listen to all kinds of different music. Like, I'm a theater kid, so my favorite album is Hamilton. I don't know.
Wow.
I love Hamilton, okay? You get me in a car, I'm locking you in there. We're not getting out till that whole album's done, okay? I love Hamilton. But I listen to a bunch of different music.
That's funny.
I write music. I grew up in a musical household. So we're really into anything that has lyrics that resonate with me. I'm a lyricist. I really like what people have to say more so
Yeah.
than what it sounds like. What you have to say is important to me. So anybody who has something to say that I feel like I can resonate with, that's my jam right there.
I like that a lot.
Awesome.
So, okay, we talked lots about that, but then pro boxing comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's quite the
Yes.
jump.
I should have told you that. I should have told you that when you came on the show today. Is we probably talk least about boxing and about everything else
Yeah.
because I think it's weird how that happens because it's like, okay, we already know you can kick the shit out of people. You're world champion, but it seems like you're going to take your boxing and do something else with it. Like I get that,
For sure.
I get that impression.
For
Most
sure.
boxers I meet, no offense to any of the boxers, I love you guys all, but they literally go, "I'm boxing." That's it. Like there's no plan B.
Mhm.
There's no like if I got enough money, nothing like that. They're like, "I'm just
Yeah.
boxing." And you kind of talk about boxing, but you there's like a flip to it. Like you got like, oh, I'm gonna box, but I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, so like I also think that that's a stigma that needs to be
Mhm.
denormalized in boxing, that
Yes.
boxing is your one and only career.
Mm.
Because being realistic, boxing has a time limit.
Yes,
Our
Oh,
bodies
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
of
cannot
course it does.
physically
Yeah.
allow
No.
us
Yeah.
to be successful in this sport forever.
Yeah.
It can't.
No.
And it's like dropping out of school for your career is the worst idea you can
Mhm.
ever have.
Yes.
Like abandoning all other plans for life and only relying on boxing is the worst idea you could ever have. And I've been saying this for you. I'm so glad we got. I think that is so dumb
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
anything can happen. You do not know, anything can happen. I was just in a car accident. My whole career could have ended after that
Mm.
accident that I was
Mm.
in a split second. Your career could be over. That's how fragile boxing is. And as
Yeah.
much as I love it and as passionate as I am for it, one, the money is not with nobody is making Floyd Mayweather money
Yeah.
from
No.
this sport.
No.
Nobody,
No.
especially not in this economy. Nobody is making that kind of money for this to be a sustainable career forever. And also, anything could happen. Get your education. Find something else to do. Me,
Mhm.
I love boxing, but I know boxing is not for me forever. I'm a woman. At the end of the day, my time clock runs a lot faster than a man's time
Yes.
clock in the
Yes.
sport,
Yeah.
which means that I need to get everything I want to accomplish done faster than a man has to do in this
Mhm.
sport. But just because you can't be in the ring doesn't mean you can't be a part of the sport.
Correct.
That's why I'm going to school for journalism. I could major in anything. I could go back to performing arts. I chose journalism because I want to do sports journalism. I want to still be involved in boxing. I still want to have these types of experiences where I get to travel and I get to go to fights and I get to
Serena, do you see
experience
yourself? Do
things.
you see yourself like with other sports too as well, though? Because I see you on
Yeah, for sure.
when I see you on social media, right? There is a small window for boxing as well, right? Because it's
Mhm.
even as a journalist or as a broadcaster, but I could see you doing other things in sports like
Yeah.
NFL football, like things like that. Because you see more females now in NFL football
Mhm.
doing broadcasting than any other sport, and like I don't know, you probably don't follow hockey, but in hockey as well, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I definitely would love to branch out to other sports in the future, but I think it is also a good way to stay connected to boxing.
Mhm.
I also think maybe in the future there can be some type of committee, funded committee we could put together to rewatch these films for some of these, questionable decisions that
Interesting.
some of these judges give out. I think
oof,
we don't pay enough attention to it. We just get on the
nuts.
internet and say, "Oh my God,
Yeah, yeah.
robbery," and
And
that's
then it's
it. And
over. And then it's
yeah, and
over.
that's not fair. That's not fair. As a victim to politics, one of my losses on my record, the first loss I got on my record was in Mexico and was an admittance of politics. They did turn around and say, hey, we gave it to the other girl because we were tired of this American coming here and beating our girls. That was an admittance. And just like, hey, we can't overturn it because if we overturn it, then the commissioner gets fired. So we're not going to overturn it. You're just going to have to deal with it. As a victim
Jeez.
of politics, it's just straight cruel politics. It's not fair to the fighters.
Mhm.
And I think that there should be some type of international committee
Yep.
that
Oh, I
is set
agree.
into
Yeah.
place
Totally
where
agree.
you run those tapes back and you decide as a committee, are we going to overturn this
Yeah, that's some
or
bullshit.
are we going to leave it to what it is? We need it.
Yeah,
We need it,
I agree.
especially if they're not going to, make sure that these new judges and these new referees are enforcing the rules that were properly put into place to protect these fighters.
I agree.
There shouldn't be so many deaths. So many fighter deaths, so much
Yeah,
negligence,
yeah.
so many injuries. There shouldn't be. And I think that's because of negligence due to just trying to keep the money flowing through the sport. And, money
Hmm.
is great, I guess you need it to live, but it's not more important than people's lives.
No.
So
No,
I
no.
definitely want to do more with the sport, moving forward. It's just, this boxing, other than it being my passion, is my foot in the door.
Yep.
Nobody's going to listen to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about.
That's
And I've
true.
been
Yeah.
doing this a really
Yeah.
long time. I know what I'm talking about. I've seen it. I've
Yep.
seen it all. Like 13 years, I'm young, but 13 years is a really long time to be
Oh,
involved in
Yes.
something. And like,
That's in boxing. That's like dog
I've,
years.
yeah,
That's like 100 years.
yeah,
13
I've
Yeah,
seen it.
I
I've
agree.
seen it all, and I
Hmm.
definitely think there's that boxing has so much potential, and you can do so much to it. But first, you have to take it back to how it was originally intended to be, where the best are fighting the best, and we are all collectively working as a unit to put on entertainment for the crowd without working against each other, because then that's when it gets dangerous. We should
Yeah.
be working together. This is a business. This is a paycheck. We don't have to hate each other to fight. I don't hate you. This is business. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know you to hate you,
Yeah.
all this other stuff, all these theatrics, it's unnecessary, and it's going to take time. Like, they're doing this to rebuild interest. The interest is there now. Now you have to transition back to what it was. And, boxing still has all this potential. Everybody loves to
I
see
agree.
people punch each other in the
I
face.
agree.
They do.
So,
That's true.
We love it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is true. Like,
Yeah, we love it.
what do you
We love
love
it.
about it? Because you said it a lot. What is it that you love?
I like being able to punch people in the face and not get in trouble
That's a
for
good
it.
answer.
Honestly, that's the biggest thing for me is I need an outlet. So growing up, I had really bad anger issues, really bad anger issues.
I'm glad you said
like,
it out loud, though. I am. I'm glad,
really bad.
Zarina, I'm glad you said it out loud. Because why bullshit? I love punch. She likes punching people
Yeah,
in the
I like
face. What's
punching
wrong with
people
that?
in the face. That's what it is. I also like to travel. I like
Yeah.
to meet new people. I like to network. Those are all the politically correct answers that are also true. I like
Yeah.
to travel. I like to, I like to meet new people and experience new things. I love it. I very, very much love punching people in the face.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why I do it. Like it usually doesn't make me feel better with personal life stuff, but it definitely
Oh.
does give me that outlet of the feeling of punching somebody in the face. Like if I want to, I won't take out my personal issues on whoever I'm in the ring with. I'm a lot more controlled and contained now, but it is like something about punching someone
I'm
in
just
the
writing
face.
down the title for the YouTube
Like
video.
you can just breathe after, like,
Loves
"Oh, that
punching
was
people in the face.
nice. I got to punch somebody."
Yeah.
Like,
What's the best punch you've ever thrown? Do you remember it?
the best punch I've ever thrown.
Someone went to
Oh my
sleep, I'm
God.
sure.
The one that you just put someone to sleep and it was just like, oh, that was the best.
I wish I just put someone to sleep before. I've never put anyone to sleep before, but oh man, I couldn't tell you. I've thrown so many good punches. I think for me, it's more of like I've thrown really cool flurries of punches
Combination.
over like one specific punch. Like I remember this one time I was sparring and I was like, oh God, I had to have been like 15 or 16, and I was sparring this girl, and this is when I was still working through my anger issues. So I was sparring this girl and she hit me. All it took was one time. You hit me one time, I'm blacking out. I don't know anything what's going on till after, so she punched me and I literally I couldn't hear anything. All I could see was her. I backed the girl up to a corner and I was just wailing on her. Like I didn't let her get a breath in. We're in the first round, a good 45 seconds into the first round. She's in that corner fighting for like literally like begging for her life. Not even fighting. She was not throwing back at all. She was like this, and something told me I just couldn't stop. I was just punching her everywhere I could punch her, and I could hear yelling, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. So I'm thinking they're yelling at me to keep going. So
They're yelling at you to stop.
I'm going to town, and I just see somebody's arm come in my eyesight, and I'm like, and it's my dad, and he's like, "We said stop," and I was like, "Oh, I thought you said keep going. I'm sorry, like my fault." Like, and he was like, get out, take your stuff off, get out, go sit down. What are you doing?" I was like, I blacked out. I don't know.
But that was in you, yeah.
That was yeah. So I think it's like more things like that. Like I will flip a switch at times, and it's like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing some crazy stuff to you, and it's like it's you got it or you don't got it. So it's like can you get it?
Czarina, before we let you go tonight, what's next? What's your big next thing that's happening for you?
So I am still in recovery from my car accident.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into the car accident, I sprained my elbow and I sprained the muscle in my ankle.
It-
So I had to teach myself how to walk again.
Jeez.
It was a very long process.
Wow.
I am now completely walking on my own. I am back to training. I'm back to dancing. However, everything is modified. All the dances I post online for my dance class on my personal page, all those dances have been modified for my ankle. My gym exercises have been modified for my ankle. It's just about getting stronger now and building back up and muscle memory, getting back into shape. Um, Hopefully we're estimated to have something around January or February.
Good.
It will more than likely, don't quote me, more than likely be a title defense
Hmm.
for my IBO. We were great. They were gracious enough to give us an extension because there is a time limit on how
Yeah.
soon you have to defend your title before they
Right.
strip you of it. Because I was in the accident and unable to perform, they gave us an extension. So I'm extremely grateful for that because I worked really hard for that title and I had no intention
Exactly.
on getting it stripped anytime soon. So I do want to defend that. So hopefully that's what the next step is defending that so that yeah, we can just get on to bigger and better things. I'm hoping to fight for some bigger titles this year now that I'm ranked and everything in my weight class. So I'm really excited to see what this next year has coming up for me. But for the rest of this year, I'm going to be in the gym, out the way, getting back in shape. That way, when I come back to the ring, it's like I never left.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
so cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, hey, like we really appreciate you spending your time, but more so, just really like I think everyone watching is going to be majorly encouraged by what you're talking about, and will be more if you follow her on social media.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, you'll be more motivated
Which will make sure
every
everybody
week
does. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Black Rose motivation. And hey, look, listen, if you guys want me back, I'll come back. It was fun. I like interviews where we talk about other things
Yes.
as well. Like
Right.
So do
there
we.
was a time in COVID I was doing like 10 interviews a week and because there was nothing else to do. So I was doing like 10 interviews a week and it was the same questions over and over and over again.
Yep.
And I remember there was like after one interview, I just had it. It was like 3 straight weeks, 10 interviews a week of like the same questions. And I
Yeah.
called my dad and I said, I don't want to do any more interviews. They asked me the same thing over and
Yeah.
over, like just watch the other one.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he
yeah,
was
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
he
Totally.
was like, they're not all like that. Some of them are
No.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we think that like what you believe is that there's a human underneath all the spotlights that we see people stand in, and
Exactly.
so we need
Absolutely.
to know these people because it's for a bigger purpose, like you said, like
Yeah.
in another 25 years, like the boxing career and the record will still be there, but you're going to be doing so much more with this kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
and honestly, in the sports world, as Mark and I have seen, like it definitely needs to be talked about more because we've seen
And also too, it's super lucky to be on this podcast because everybody that is on this podcast, you can go through the hundreds of episodes that we've had with people from the NHL, NBA, everywhere, and really weird, good things happen to people after they're on this podcast. Now, it sounds crazy, but this podcast will never die. It'll when it's on, it'll play, it'll keep playing. You'll see it next year, you'll see it the year after. Then we'll have you back on, right? Part 2. And then people go, "Oh, wait a second." And then all of a sudden, we've had people like Francis Ngannou, we've had
Cyril
all
Gann,
these people,
Cyril Gann, yeah. He
yeah,
fought
Cyril
Francis.
Cyril Gann. He's like, "Oh, I want to fight for the title," and I'm like, "You're gonna fight for the title when we're done." And sure as shit, he got the title shot. We've had people
Yeah.
we've had the people on this podcast. The most craziest things have came out on this podcast, and we never asked. It just we want people to feel comfortable enough that you are on this podcast. And like I said earlier on, female boxers need more. Listen, it's great that Katie Holmes and Serrano get this spotlight, okay? But
Mhm.
it's too far in between. So yes, Jake Paul goes here you go. But you notice Serrano's always this on that card. Like he has a thing for her. He's like, "Oh yeah, she's cool. She trains with him." But prior to her meeting Jake Paul, she made no money in the sport.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Now,
Mhm.
now she's making paper. So what I'm saying is it's time for you to get in those type of cards, and it's time for other girls to get in those cards. And nothing against Serrano, nothing against Katie Holmes. It's not their fault. What I'm trying to tell you is it's the sport of boxing. We can all say, arguably, it was the best fight on the card by a million miles.
Arguably, it was the best fight.
Are you crazy? It was the best fight by a million miles. It wasn't even it wasn't even close to be. It was definitely the best fight on the card. So
for sure.
We don't care anymore. Female, male, gay, straight. We don't give a shit. If you know how to box, we want to see you box. Now, I really don't care anymore. But when you watch two females on the biggest card of the year, and you're like, they killed it. Like they were miles ahead of everybody else. And you're starting to say to yourself, well, wait a second here. Don't we just want to watch good boxing? We don't even give a shit I don't care what color someone is. I don't care what sex they are. I don't give a shit. I want to see good boxing. That's it. And so does everybody else at home.
You know? Right. At the end of the day, that's it. Like, I don't care who's fighting. Just fight. That's it. Just punch each other in the face, please.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my God, and do lots of it and make it look good while you're at it, right? And you have boxing skills. And that's what all of us that love boxing, we all crave for that, you know, and that's what, and good for them on that card to do that, because the rest of the fights were Jake Paul and Tyson together, no offense to Mike Tyson, for sure. Jesse and I met Mike Tyson when he was here, and it's Jake Paul. You should say, wow, like he couldn't hurt him at all. This is a kid fighting, one of the better guys of all time. And you say to yourself, did we really want to watch that? Probably not. And then the next morning, everybody at work, what they talking about? They're talking about Katie Holmes and Amanda Serrano. That's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, that fight was great. Taylor and Serrano, they showed up and they showed out. They definitely showed out. They definitely looked really good for women's boxing. And they made really great money on that fight too. So
they did.
Good for them. Period. Good for
but
them.
We need that for you to get there. We need that. Yeah, that's right. We need other people to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully I get those opportunities this year coming up. I'm excited. I'm ready. I am mentally ready. Physically, I'm getting there. I will be there when it's time for me to be there, because the will is there and the passion is there and the determination is there. And as long as all those things are there, then I will also get there.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Czarina, for joining us tonight, and good luck in your recovery and training for the next thing. And everybody, you need to follow her on all social media, and we're so excited about your next fight. We can't wait to hear when it happens.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for having me. This was fun.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Absolute superstar. Absolute superstar. Great person. Father is fantastic. I spoke with Edwin, her father, before on the phone for about an hour. He just was a gem. And you could tell he wasn't the guy like flexing and telling me his whole life story. None of that stuff. He just was a good guy. And, we want Czarina McCoy to be a huge star.
Yeah,
and she was on the Me and Jesse podcast. We love it.
We do. Well, Max, 4-time world champion.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
Right. And did it in Vegas, which is great. And yes, look at this. There he is. Listen, Jesse loved Max. Listen, I can say this on the show. No word of a lie. Before Max was Max. Max, if you're watching this show, I'm going to tag you in this episode. Okay, Max? Jesse Martineau told the world that you were going to be the greatest when you were nothing. You couldn't even pee standing up correctly when he said it. Okay. So he literally said that you were going to be the man, and he said that you were going to be the one to save Red Bull. And he said
it was a scary season. It started off awesome, but
it
doesn't
matter.
But that was the thing. I think this actually makes him a better driver, because he had to overcome adversity a lot more than normal.
I totally agree.
So
but you said that Max was the man before he was the man. I believe Lewis Hamilton was the man when you said it, but you said that there was something special about Max.
There's a new king.
There's a new king. Before he was the king. Yeah. And now that he's the king, you sound like a genius, because you said it way before he was ever close to being that. and I'm a witness to it. And you can go check episodes on the Me and Jesse podcast that claim that Max was going to be a king. And I can also attest to this, Max. I probably laughed a little bit about it. Okay, so I'm honest about it. I was like,
Mercedes
I
was
don't know.
so dominant.
Yeah,
How do
Mercedes
you
was.
ever
Yeah, they
overthrow
were,
that?
and Max decided that wasn't going to be the case with him on around anymore, and the rest is history. Now Red Bull's the champs, and Max is the king, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
He has the. Hey, I said it before though. I said if you're going to have an MMA fight out of all the drivers, Max is the guy I'd have on my team.
Really?
I think,
Oh man, I don't know.
I
I think
I-
I'd take someone wily like Fernando
No, no.
Alonso.
nah, he'd run out of gas. I think Max.
The thing
is
about
the
Max,
guy,
he can't do anything else at all.
No, I think, but
That's
I
all
think
he
he's
does,
the guy
is
that
drive.
he could study, but he could study it. You know, he's
Yeah,
that
he
guy.
definitely
He's
is
the guy that would
that
study it and then learn how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we want to thank our great sponsors at Crystal Glass, your clear choice for all your glass needs. Call 310 Glass or go to crystalglass.ca today. Your clear choice for all your glass needs. They're our prime sponsor for the Me and Jesse podcast.
Well, thank you so much once again, Czarina, for joining us. Follow her on all social media. It's really good. You know,
We'll tag her. We'll tag her in
Yeah.
everything.
be sure
we'll
to
tag her in
that,
everything.
and then follow us too. Mark Pavlich, Jesse Martineau, Me and Jesse
Yeah.
podcast. Give us a follow. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Until next time.
Yeah, we're going into December. You know, we
It's
got
December.
we got
It's
some
Christmas
shows
time.
booked for the first 2 weeks of December, and then after that, of course, we take our Christmas break. You know, till January, and that's it, everybody. So
That's it. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody, and have a great night. Thanks, Mark and Czarina and Crystal Glass. Thanks for watching Me and Jesse podcast. See you next time.
Thanks for watching the Me and Jesse podcast. Follow us at facebook.com/Me and Jesse.